What's up, everyone? Nate Hoyle here. Welcome to the Restaurant Secret Press Podcast, and I am your host. I already said who I am, so you're going to have to go backwards for that one. The date today is July 7th, and we're getting into the week real confident this week. It's going to be a good week for everyone all across the land, I'm calling it. So it's been a while. It's been about 5 days since I've talked to you guys, and I suppose it was because of my own busyness. Saw that F1 movie yesterday, although it should be abbreviated to just be called The Fun Movie. Am I right, guys? No, yeah, I liked it. I saw it at this theater in downtown Davenport, Quad Cities. It's called The Last Picture Show, which maybe it's been around for a couple years. It's relatively new, pretty sweet. It's like a small theater. Maybe there's 2 theaters inside of it, or 2 screens inside of it, and then sometimes they show movies actually on the roof in the summer, which I haven't seen it playing this year, but in the past I've seen, driven by, you can see it right out from the street. You can see the movie playing on the roof. I don't know what places you can go out and have a good view of it. And I don't know how loud the sound is. So you probably, to get the best experience, have to go all the way up there. But it's pretty cool. I've been to that theater 3 times now. For this F1 Fun movie. And then also for Wicked, which I loved. And then also I saw a film called Heretic, which was a scary movie. That I had mixed feelings about. I thought Heretic, the first hour, was awesome. And then it felt like they were trying to outdo other scary movies of beautiful women getting locked in small spaces and zombies and what's not. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Today I'm talking about Brad Pitt and his very fast cars. Dude, I don't know how I got through school with my brain, because it's actually called The Last Picture House, not The Last Picture Show. I haven't been up very long. Only had a few sips of coffee. But so yeah, Last Picture House. Sorry about that. Anyone who invests in it or loves it and was grinding their teeth when I said that. But yeah, I thought it was cool, the F1 movie. You know, I do think we should probably make a rule where, like, people can go see it, but if any men around the age of, 50 go see it, they have to have someone have a talk with them before, because I'm pretty sure, Brad Pitt's character, who was a professional race car driver who joins this team and is just a raging asshole there, I'm pretty sure a lot of people will see the movie and think that they are him in their mind. It was that was one of my critiques of it, was I feel like he goes there and he's telling the pit crew how to build cars. The whole pit crew is like, what are we gonna do? And then Brad Pitt comes in and says 2 words that explain everything. The racing parts were awesome, and that was the main part of the movie. It was probably, honestly, if it was 2 hours and 40 minutes or so, probably 2 hours of it, I might be exaggerating, but it felt 2 hours of it, hour 40 of it were actually them racing. And then there were arcs that were, not the most deep character studies. But the movie as a whole was super exciting. I didn't really go into it expecting it to be a Paul Thomas Anderson character study. I knew what it was going to be, which is basically a gigantic commercial for race car driving. But that being said, didn't feel bored the whole time. Was sitting in my seat, staring at the scene, letting the sounds of the engines rev and roar. So I definitely recommend it. Yeah, so that morning, excuse me, that morning, I came downstairs, and Ariel was here this weekend, which I'll talk about some more. But I came downstairs and my dad had the F1 race on one TV, and then in the kitchen there's another TV, and that one had the Tour de France on, all happening. The Tour de France, I guess, might have been a rerun. I'm not sure when those actually take place, but that was definitely his happy place to have those two visuals of people going around and around or going on very long roads on tires. Yeah, I could probably talk about it more, but I don't want to be too interesting because I'm pretty new to it. I've seen like a few of the various car races. I mean, I've been familiar with the Tour de France forever, but the F1 thing is kind of new to me, and I don't even know if all the ones I've seen are like the same type of car, or the same type of league or whatever. I think they are. I don't know how long the season is. I know some people know all the drivers and what car they drive and what their sponsor is and who made the engine, and probably think that they could make the car better if they were just given the opportunity. But I'm not one of those people. So a bunch of dudes saw the F1 movie and now they're waiting for the call. Like, dude, if that Red Bull team just gave me a chance, within 2 weeks, we'd be in the top 3. And within a month, we would be finished before everyone else starts. I don't know what I'm talking about. I feel like I'm getting a little bit rude. So let's talk about something else. So, yeah, Ariel was here. She was in Belgium. She's been traveling a shitload. Like, she was in Rome last month, and now she was in Belgium, and she's already leaving again to go to Ireland. But for her work. And so she got back and came here on Wednesday, or maybe, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. But she's so funny. She got me, she texted me when she was there because there was like a comic book shop there. And she sent me some stuff, seeing if I was interested in any of them. And, one of them is actually in Dutch, which is pretty wild because I don't know how to read Dutch, obviously. And that one's been kind of interesting to look at. It's like the 15th volume in this stories, but I don't think it mattered because I can't read any of the speech bubbles. I don't know what's going on with it. It's sort of like a fantasy. It's got like big kind of pirate ships, and people look like they are from like Conan or something, but there's also like aliens, and then they're flying on like dinosaurs. And then the ships kind of look a little steampunk, like they're kind of futuristic looking, even though they mostly just look like old pirate ships. And people have like swords and all of that, but then there's also giant bugs in the sky. It's like sci-fi but fantasy combined or something. Or I guess it would just kind of be fantasy because there's not really technology, but there's still like outer space looking things, giant worms coming out of the water and all that. Pretty interesting, but it's more just I admire the pictures. But the funny one, she's hilarious. She got me this, because I'm into the Batman stuff. And she got me this one called Gotham City Sirens. And it's basically like 3 of the anti-heroes who are the femme fatales, the bad girls of Batman. So it's Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, and Catwoman. And they like team up to form the Sirens. She's so funny. This art is like super horny. It's like, I don't know. Like, obviously they're kind of already like the characters are psycho, manic pixie dream girls, but like the art sometimes just like, I would never bring this comic out in public to read it. It's so sexualized. As far as the story goes, I kind of had the same issue, no pun intended. I had the same problem with, so there's another Batman run that's like post their revamp. So in 2012, they revamped the whole DC universe. And they ran one around that time called Batman Eternal. And my issue with that one, which I've read about the first quarter of it, or first third of it, with these comics, a lot of the enjoyment of it and a lot of what makes them good is like the flow from page to page, and then also understanding what's going on. For some reason, comics is very easy to get confusing, and I think the best ones, the people who are experts at it, who have to collaborate, obviously, because there's a writer, there's an artist. The best ones are ones that you can read through 4 pages, 5 pages, and it's like a flow, like you forget you're even doing it. And for some of these Batman ones, like Eternal specifically, I remember reading through them, and it felt like every new 2 pages, like when you open it, it's like the left and the right pages. Each one of those was like one narrative arc. But then you'd flip the page and it'd be talking about something totally different. And then maybe you'd flip it 3 more times and it'd go back to the first thing they were talking about. Like, it didn't feel like it had the flow that, like, my favorite Batman stories usually have. So some of the arcs going on in that Batman Eternal were like, well, the best one, which was the most interesting, was that Commissioner Gordon, James Gordon, the police chief in Gotham, he actually gets arrested and put into prison for this catastrophe that ends up like an accident happens and all these people die and he gets blamed for it and he actually goes to prison. And that's like a story that, like, the fans would be like, oh my God, that's a pivotal arc. That's crazy that happened. You remember it. But on top of that, in these kind of issues, there are also like 8 other threads that felt like where you would turn the page, it wouldn't even be talking about that anymore. Like, one of them was like this girl finds out her dad is like a mercenary villain, and then he like tries to kill her, and then she's like on the run. Or there's like an arc with Penguin, other stuff too. It's been a few months since I read it, but I just felt like this Sirens one kind of had a similar issue, and for a second, similar problem. And for a second, I thought I had started it in the middle of the story. I mean, comics are so weird, like, their arcs always kind of spin off each other, and there is like a larger arc going on. But when I was reading the first few pages, I was confused where I was at. Maybe there's stuff in the other Batmans that are leading up to it, but I had to like check, and this is actually the first 3 issues. But as a concept, it's pretty sweet, despite my cackling and whatnot. One thing I always loved about Batman was the villains, obviously, and whenever someone is talking about how the Avengers or Marvel are better, Spider-Man's better, it's like, you got to ask them the question, if you're watching a Marvel movie, Captain America or something, like, where are all the hotties? Because when we're talking about Batman, there are more hotties in Batman than you could even think of on the top of your head. And so you tell me which one's better. Would you rather look at a bunch of like buff alien dudes who are, kind of acting like douchebags, teaming up, flying around? Or would you rather just see just a regular billionaire, completely normal heir to a fortune, in a Batman suit, trying to defend himself, fending off a bunch of baddies, a bunch of hotties? I mean, you tell me. I'm tired of having to explain this to people, because anytime anyone comes at me, they're like, oh, Spider-Man's the best suit, oh, Captain America, oh, Superman. It's like, no. You show me a superhero, a detective, a savior of mankind. You show me one that has to fight off this many foxy ladies, and then I'll start to listen to you. But until then, you're just wasting my time. I'm just kidding. It is funny to me, dude. I feel like I don't understand, like I kind of understand it, but let me put it this way. So there's been a couple of times where I've been trying to get into like anime and stuff, just because I'm curious about all forms of storytelling. I'm not even being sarcastic. Like, if something's that big of a phenomenon, I'm like curious about it. And I do love animation. I do love seeing different kinds of animation. I think a lot of anime, the popular ones that I've seen, like they're super cool and influential in action and in storytelling, and it's like a whole thing that I would want to learn more about. But anytime I would like put one of them on, like put a show on in my old Chicago apartment with the windows open and the TV being able to be seen out on the sidewalk, like I would watch it for like 5 minutes and then something would come on. I'd be like, turn it off. People are gonna think I'm gross watching this. No offense to people who like anime. I get insecure. I always feel like there's someone around my shoulder about to judge me. That's the main problem. Trying to think of which animes I did watch. I did watch One Punch Man, which apparently is like people who are hardcore into anime. It's like that one's like, oh, I haven't watched this one. I watched some of that Death Note. That was interesting, very disturbing. I think I tried watching some of that Bleach show. The other problem is that anime for me, it's like sometimes the best. Oh, dude, that Cowboy Bebop, that was tight. I think I was gonna watch that again because I saw it on some streaming that I have access to, like Amazon or something. I can't remember, but I should bleep out Amazon. But yeah, sometimes it's just like I'll like watch it for like 30 seconds and there's like some erotic looking shit going on. And it's like, never mind, I'm putting something else on. Or no, that's not what I was gonna say. I was gonna say I like watching stuff on mute too. I haven't been doing that as much anymore, but when I was writing poems a lot earlier on or in Chicago or whatever, if it was late at night and Ariel had gone to sleep or something, because she likes watching shows with the sound on like a normal person, then I would try and find something on mute to put on. A lot of times I would try and do the anime and then it would be like something super sexual happens on the screen. And I can't tell if you can see my TV from the sidewalk. And imagine someone like standing there and immediately thinking that I'm like a weirdo. No offense, sorry. Sorry, no offense, sorry. Yeah, but I'm trying to think of which of these three Gotham City Sirens, which one of these in another life would I want to be my girlfriend? Let's see. You know, I feel like Harley Quinn is just like too out of control and kind of adolescent a little bit. If she's interesting, because she's supposed to be Joker's girlfriend, and that's her origin. So her origin story is actually, it started on a TV show. Like it started on the 90s TV show of Batman. It did not start in the comics, and that's like really rare for a famous character who has like a her career as a supervillain lasting 30 years or whatever. It's not super common for them to have their first appearance be in a TV show. It's usually in the comics. So that's the unique thing about her. She's Joker's girlfriend. But just like the Joker, like, because the Joker's childish too, I feel like, even though he's more malicious and more sinister and especially in the comics. Like the comics, I feel like they don't really do it justice. People who haven't read the comics don't understand how evil he is. I feel like Poison Ivy, you know, she's pretty, I feel like she's kind of all business and she's all evil. She's one of the more pure evil villains of these three. And I don't know if I've ever seen her do anything likable. It's usually just she's poisoning people and wearing those weird green suits. So you know what? I think I already knew the answer before I even started this. I'm going to have to go with Catwoman. Catwoman's one of the greatest characters ever created, I think. Because she's not really... She's like a villain. And she's an antagonist towards Batman. But I don't really know that she's technically evil. She's like she starts her story as a thief. Like a almost not petty thief, but like a mastermind thief. And she's in some story arcs she's a prostitute too. And I think in the movies maybe they have her be like a dancer or something, but she as a character as a whole morally is like I sound like such a dork right now. As a whole, she's like probably just as interesting as Batman. Like she's not just a plain villain. Um, so that part's cool. But probably on just a straight appearance level, Poison Ivy's the hottest. I'd say probably, just from her suits and stuff. I'm not gonna do F Mary Kill. Sorry if you were waiting to hear that. Not going to. Let's talk about something else though, because I've already, gone off the rails. So what else is going on in the world today? What's going on the last few days in the world also? I feel like there's a bunch of stuff that I have not covered yet because I want to tell you everything. Also, my stomach keeps on growling, so sorry about that. Well, I'll just pick one. I'll pick another one later. And I've been talking about baseball too much, so it will be the other one. Let's talk about metal shows. Went to one on Saturday with the whole crew. Hit up my friend John, who I grew with and also have known since I was 3, seeing what he's doing because he's one of the few metal fans I actually am close with, probably. Or metal fans who I know who will go to shows with me in this area. So it was cool. I mean, it was just like a thing going on. It wasn't like I was going to see any of the specific bands. It was like a free show. And it was raining, pouring rain for a lot of it on and off. So they had some delays and whatnot. But I just remember one of the bands came on. It was like thrashy hardcore with, I don't know if anybody knows that thrash band Sodom. It kind of reminded me of that band because it was a 3-piece guitar, bass, drums, vocals. The vocals especially kind of reminded me of that Sodom, or like maybe Sodom because of the technicality. Hang on, gang. I'm going to really explain this to you. Sodom because of like the 3-piece technicality. Like think like Motorhead if Motorhead were a thrash group. But I guess it could also be compared to like other European thrash bands like Creator or other bands in kind of that style. But anyway, I just remember watching it, and then I turn and look over, and my parents and Ariel are sitting on a bench just like looking at the stage. And I didn't want to be rude to the band, but I really was like, oh, God. I hope they're not having a terrible time. But then, the sets were only like 40 minutes or something. So we just waited. And I think they actually enjoyed just being out. It was pretty abrasive shit. But, yeah, John and I were enjoying it. I always say this about him, but I've met professional drummers in bands that are my age and all that, and I still think he's one of the best drummers I know. So it's fun going to shows with him because he'll definitely be able to talk about the decisions the drummer's making and kind of talk about the different styles and then also just appreciate the songwriting and shit. So that was fun. After all these years, I still got the encyclopedic little tick of my brain because in the interludes of the bands, there was like a lot of old school death metal, and pretty sure I was able to like pick out any song just by hearing it. Maybe not all of them, or maybe I missed some or wasn't paying attention, but they were playing some Cannibal Corpse. Now I'm forgetting which song it was, but it was something along those like Evisceration, Plague albums, like that the Corpse Grinder era. I think the next album was called Tortured Existence. Oh no, that's Demolition Hammer. Okay, so I'm proving myself wrong, but anyway, it was like Corpse Grinder era, Cannibal Corpse. And then they went into Redneck Stomp by Obituary. Great riff, instrumental song. And then they did Pull the Plug by Death off the Leprosy album. I remember that streak. And then they had a lot of like 90s, 80s, old school death metal that the people would know. But it's funny thinking about like metal purists. Because I mostly got most of my research in from heavy metal when I was like in high school. and maybe a little bit of college too, just from like the internet. And because you gotta understand, my family got high-speed internet when I was like 15 years old or something. So when that happened, and then you got access to like learning new bands and listening to their songs, that was a pretty big game changer. And I got obsessed with like death metal and all that. But it's just so funny to me because one of the things you always have to be competing with if you're a fan of metal, it's like no other genre has purists like heavy metal. I mean, maybe some rap fans over-explain things, talking about like you shouldn't listen to these types of lyricists, you should listen to these ones. Or they say like nothing is like the 90s or nothing is like the 2010s or whatever. But for heavy metal fans, like the purist mentality of heavy metal is so bullshit. Like, and I mean, I'm not talking about this show necessarily, because there were a lot of interested people having fun, and I could tell there were just a lot of metal fans there, and there were a lot of people there actually. It wasn't just like a few people standing around. But I just feel like it's so funny because back when I was in high school or back when I was getting into metal, there's kind of like this weird pressure that people put on you that like you can't listen to these bands. Like these bands are soft. These bands are poser. These bands are like for kids, and then you got to listen to this more extreme stuff. But then when the extreme bands come on and you see them live or you listen to them, if you go to a show where like the most technical, brutal death metal band is playing and you look at the crowd, like there are so many people who are just like standing there. Like there's way more people just like standing there looking unhappy at like extreme metal shows than there are at any other show. But then if you like say like you want to listen to Avenged Sevenfold or what's like a major band, I mean Slipknot is kind of I think Slipknot is gaining its respect again, although there was a period where like the purist metalheads were saying Slipknot was like not pure metal, which I never really believed, but I think there's kind of truth to that. Or like Avenged Sevenfold, or even like Metallica, like Metallica, this poser shit, they sold out, like. And then they expect you to listen to this band with like 100,000 streams, and then you go to their show and like people are like standing there looking unhappy. I guess that's just like the type of person. Like if you go to a Metallica show, people are having like the best time of their life. It doesn't even have to be that big of a band, man. Like if you go see like a rock show that's like not screaming, or the metal band is like they keep melodies, or they're not overly like trying to show you that they could play the violin if they wanted to, you know. I don't know. I've been on my shit lately. I've been complaining too much, so that's just kind of a funny thing. I think it's deeply buried into my brain, just like all the years of like feeling like I had to constantly be listening to Slayer over Anthrax. I like Slayer more than Anthrax. Those who don't get mad at me, please. No, they're both badass. Can you see the trauma creeping into my voice right now? Like I'm worried. Let's talk about it though. I do like probably Slayer. Slayer relates to me more than Anthrax, but Anthrax, their songwriting is so great and so fun. They're like a band you can put on at like a house party sometimes. Some of their songs you can literally put on at house parties. If you put on Slayer at a house party, like all the girls will leave. I remember driving through my high school parking lot and I was listening to Rain in Blood, the album. It's Rain in Blood, right? The song is Raining Blood, and then the album is Rain in Blood, I believe, or maybe it's the other way around. But I just remember listening to that album, and it was like, if you ever heard it, it's pretty fucking brutal. And I remember just being in my car driving, and I was driving past like a bunch of my classmates of the feminine persuasion, and I just remember being like, oh my god, they think I'm a serial killer or something. Like it doesn't matter. That was a long time ago. All right. So the next podcast that I attached to the back of this one, if you listen on Spotify, not if you listen on YouTube, it's also from February of 2024, in the earliest days. It's episode 2. So let me look at the date. I stand corrected. It is March. I already forgot. Jesus. Sorry. Okay, it's March 3rd, 2024. And it was the second episode. And I talk about baseball. Maybe I should have talked about baseball. I'll talk about it tomorrow. Went to a White Sox game. But that was like 2 weekends ago. But I still want to talk about it because it was fun. All right, I'm going to count to 3. And then you're going to need to... Well, I guess you can stay. You stay and I go. How about that? All right, 1, 2, 3. Bye.